Hey everyone. Okay, I am so sorry for taking so long to get back to you guys and putting out another video, but I've just been entirely too busy this week. But in my defense, we remodeled the studio. As you can see, it looks a little bit different. We've got some improvements. It's the Studio 2.0. There's still quite a few problems. I still think it's a little too dark in here, just a hair too dim. For example, check out this other camera angle of mine. Right? I mean, that's still a little dark. I mean, I can adjust the lighting a little bit, but I mean, I can't do much. And so I think we're going to have to get some more lights. And another problem we ran into is that the paint that we have on the walls, it has this weird ability to turn everything red. Like, extremely red. If I put the cameras on tungsten, like, everything just gets this red wash. Not tungsten, daylight. If I put the cameras on daylight, everything just gets this weird red wash, and we can't get rid of it. But anyway, we're back. Studio version 2.0, and hopefully we'll just keep getting better as time goes on. So I appreciate you guys' patience. So today I thought we would start out with kind of catching up with last week. And of course there were two really big news stories that I heard. One was Tomi Lahren and her suing Glenn Beck. We finally got some confirmation. I had a wonderful person send me the court documents of the actual lawsuit that Tomi Lahren sent Glenn Beck, and so I will be doing a video on that tomorrow. But today, we're going to go over the other event that happened last week, and that was Trump bombing airfield in Syria. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gary Varner, this is Renegade Reason, and today, Trump bombed Syria. So let's get into it.
My fellow Americans, on Tuesday, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched a horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack. No child of God should ever suffer such horror. Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched. It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons. There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and ignored the urging of the UN Security Council.
Okay, there are a couple ways we can look at this. I think the first obvious question is, did he or did he not do the right thing? Now, in my opinion, yes, he did, and there are multiple reasons why I think so. So, first of all, this scared China and North Korea just as they were starting to huff and puff again. It also scared Russia, and the main thing that died because of this attack was the idea that Trump and the Russians were somehow working together. A myth that, quite frankly, I am shocked lasted as long as it did. You have to remember, one of the main mistakes of the Obama administration was the red line debacle. Basically, Obama said that if Assad used chemical weapons, the U.S. would get involved. Well, what was the first thing Assad did? He used chemical weapons, and Obama did nothing. In fact, check this out.
It was just so incredibly compelling hearing your first-person account of the chemical attack and your pleas to President Trump to do something, and now he has. What's your response?
Thank you again, Brooke, for having me. I woke up for some reason. I couldn't sleep. I woke up, I saw a lot of texts on my phone. I saw the news. I cried out of joy. I jumped. I thanked God. I don't know. I was overwhelmed. We've been asking for protection. We've been asking for consequences for more than 6 years. And today, for the first time, it happened. For the very first time, we see Assad held accountable just for once. Held accountable for his crimes against humanity. I was overwhelmed. I felt grateful for President Trump. I felt grateful for the United States. I felt grateful for each and every person who lobbied and called and kept on talking until someone actually listened. I felt
Qasim, I
very
understand,
grateful.
though.
Moving on. But wait, we're not done. She still had to make Trump look bad. Check this out.
But there are also people over here in America who are saying, all right, so clearly President Trump is motivated by just, as we all have compassion for these just horrible images of these babies who were killed. But at the same time, this is a man who, doesn't want Syrians to come into this country with this refugee ban. I want to just play some sound. Hillary Clinton weighed in.
We cannot in one breath speak of protecting Syrian babies and in the next close America's doors to them.
Quickly, Qasim, how do you see that?
With all due respect, I didn't see each and every person who was demonstrating after the travel ban. I didn't see you 3 days ago when people were gassed to death, when civilians were gassed to death. I didn't see you in 2013 when 1,400 people were gassed to death. I didn't see you raising your voice against President Obama's inaction in Syria that let us refugees, that made us refugees get kicked out of Syria. If you really care about refugees, if you really care about helping us, please help us stay in our country. We don't want to come to the United States. We want to stay in our country. We want to stay in our country. With all due respect, this is hypocrisy. If you really care, help us stay in our country. We don't want to become refugees. We want to stay in our country. Help us establish safe zones. Help us
Translation: shit.
Stay safe in our country. And if you just give me a few seconds just to tell President Trump once again, please, sir, what you did was amazing. What you did was a powerful message of hope for a lot of people inside and outside of Syria. Please don't stop on this. Please help Syrians stay in their country. Please establish safe zones. Please take out Assad air forces so they won't be able to commit more atrocities using traditional weapons. 500,000 people were killed with traditional weapons, just so people can know what we have suffered in the past 6 years.
Okay, so that didn't go as expected, but we learned a few things by actually listening to a refugee. And this is one of the most amazing things about the media. They are very good at telling us what other people need. But there are times like this interview, that you wonder if these people have even spoken to the said groups they are supposed to be advocating for. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Syrian people wanting a safe zone. I had no idea this was something they wanted. And had CNN not had this guy on by mistake, I never would have found out any different. But we also learned something interesting. The Syrian people remember Obama's promise. They remember what he said, even if most of the American people have forgotten. Now that means that Trump, by bombing this airfield, has sent a message to the Syrian people, as well as the rest of the world, that America is a nation of its word again. Regardless of whether the bombing was right or wrong, that's how they interpreted it. That's very, very interesting. So I'm going to say this wasn't a mistake if he stops it here, which we learned today that is exactly what he plans to do. We aren't going to war with Syria, at least not yet. Now, I've never been the type to say we shouldn't go into these other countries and we shouldn't go in and try to nation build. I've never felt the act of nation building in and of itself is a mistake. I feel like we always go in there gun-ho, sort of, and then we kind of get tired and leave. If we're going to go, we need to commit and we need to just finish what we start. There has been one successful case of nation building, and frankly, that's Japan. And I don't understand why we don't apply the same methods we applied in World War II into these other countries, but that's a whole other issue. The point is, right now, if things stay as they are, I think that would be fine. I don't think we should go in there and try to nation build in this case, if for no other reason than we don't have a plan at this point. Not that I know of, anyway. Now, as far as the people who are mad at Trump about this, I'm sorry, you really have no reason to be. Trump never said he was an isolationist. I don't know why you guys thought that to begin with. He never said that. He said he disapproved of the way Obama and Clinton dealt with the crisis, but the way they dealt with the crisis was by handing both sides guns and going, have fun, which was a terrible way to deal with it. Of course it was. But look back at the debates and think about it. What did Trump criticize these leaders in the past of doing? He criticized them of announcing when they were going to launch an attack, which what does that imply? It implies he planned to launch a surprise attack. So I don't know why this is a shock to people. Trump is behaving exactly how we expected him to behave. Reactionary and impulsive and impossible to predict. Which is why some of us wanted another person to be president. But anyway. However, I think in this case, he made the right move. However, he did it out of impulse. And that is why some of us have been nervous about him the entire time. However, I will add this at the end. I'm kind of glad that this was a move he chose to be impulsive about. I'm glad to see that a video of dead kids actually affected him. You know, and I know that how crazy that sounds, and I know that that kind of implies that he's easy to manipulate maybe, but you know, to me, I think it makes him human. And a lot of these politicians, they're so conniving and they're so strategic all the time. And it's nice to see somebody go, screw strategy. I don't care. Just forget the consequences. These kids are dead. They shouldn't be dead. Let's blow them to hell. If there was a reason for somebody to get mad and reactionary, I would want that to be the reason. You know what I mean? So I'm glad this was the thing he chose to be reactionary about. And I'm also glad that even though he was reactionary, he had enough discipline to pull back and go, okay, we did this in retaliation of something horrible, but we're not going to go further. We are going to take a step back and try to think about this a little more carefully. I appreciate that. And so I really have no complaints with how he's handled this. And that might make some people mad, but, you know, I got to be honest. I can't fault the guy for being upset about what happened. And I'm glad he was. I'm glad he was upset. I'm glad somebody in the public eye got upset about this. Because, you know, it shouldn't have happened. It was a terrible thing. And through all the politics and left, right, and the details in this nation, you know, I think we forget that. There are people who die across the world, and it's horrible. And sometimes some action does need to be taken. And so I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. Alright. Guys, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. If you like this video, of course, like, share, subscribe, and all of that. And guys, as always, God willing, we'll see you later. Peace.